Okay, guys, it's 4 already, and we have quite a number of participants already joined us. Welcome everyone on Flying Stories, and it's going to be a very exciting session. I first of all wish you that everybody is fine and safe and doing well in their own respective locations. Today's I am your host Nagendra Pratap Singh, and I am connecting from Thane at the moment, and I am a paramotorist, and I go for World Championship for representing Team India. Today's guest is very important person. He's a great inventor, engineer, and he is an aviator. Now, and his name is Ryan Pinto. I welcome Ryan. How are you?
Hi, Nagendra. Thank you. Excellent and very happy to be here.
Thank you very much. And Ryan has 20 years of experience in multiple disciplines of engineering, computers, electronics, aviation. That's a lot, I mean, I think people do one engineering and you have 3 disciplines. Fantastic. And Ryan has led several high-profile teams in various multinationals, especially in Canada, where he has developed a lot of product and services patents, and many patents are also work in progress. And he has led those teams and also made strategies and done inventions there. After Canada, he has moved to Goa in 2018, and at the moment he is joining us from Goa. In Goa, he is currently founder and technical director of Inventor Systems Private Limited, and which is a technology and innovation company. And this company has created Skywalker electric paramotor. So Ryan, uh, format is pretty simple as we discussed, and as we know in Flying Stories, I'm going to be asking you a few questions, and take as much time as you want because the audience is really wonderful. They are PPG pilots, PPC pilots, PG pilots, and also I'm told by Siddharth there are a lot of interest. People would have joined on YouTube as well as here who are non-pilots. Because the subject was interesting. How you made the paramotor, electric paramotor yourself, and that's why we are very keen to know a lot of things. But before we get on to how you made it, can you let us know what is an electric paramotor? And also, how is it different, or what is different about electric paramotor than very prevalent 2-stroke and 4-stroke combustion engines?
Thank you for that very generous introduction, Nagendra, and thank you everybody for joining us. It's really my pleasure and real excitement to be here and talk to you and share these experiences with you. So, getting back to your question, Nagendra, uh, essentially a paramotor is perhaps the world's uh, lightest powered aircraft you can think. Um, and when it so far the prevailing technology is two-stroke gas engines or petrol engines, and electric paramotor is a new wave, a new direction of uh, um, a technology that's coming out to power these lightweight aircraft. It's in two flavors. It could either be on your backpack, so the really lightest version of it for one pilot or for tandem, or slightly heavier build on a trike with more power, which probably could take 2 passengers as well. So an electric paramotor is essentially electrically powering the traditional paramotor. And how you go about delivering this power makes all the difference, to your experience as a paramotorist.
Okay, so there are a lot of engines and a lot of technology is there already. Why and how you started this journey, to build electric paramotors by yourself? You have done a lot of innovations, but why electric paramotor? And also, later let us know if internationally a lot of people or some people are developing electric paramotors or have developed.
Yeah, sure. Uh, Actually, this whole journey started from a bit of a backyard project with my kids. Okay, I would do a lot of RC modeling and drones, and the kids would, come and build stuff with me. So one day, one of them had the idea of, why don't, Dad, why don't you, uh, put this motor, this plane motor on a backpack for us, so we can, ride our skateboards with it. They had these skateboards, and I'll just show you in a second. I'll share my screen and see. Um, can you guys see?
Yes, I can see.
Okay,
Yeah,
so um, in one afternoon, what essentially we did is we put the basic units of a RC aircraft onto a backpack,
awesome.
and we created this little fun device called, I don't know, we just called it the propeller pack. Uh, the kids would have this skateboard, and they would, go around the neighborhood. And this was back in Canada. This was about 4 years ago. And so they wanted, a powered system wherein they could just stand on the skateboard instead of constantly having to jump down and, you know move it with their legs. And this little propeller pack would, just propel them through the
Right.
neighborhood
Yeah.
and generate a lot of attention. So, within a week or two, we had sort of perfected this little backpack, and soon there were like at least about 10 neighborhood kids who wanted to try it. And then I saw
Yes.
the kids were having so much fun that I went on to say, why don't the adults also have some fun? So I made a slightly higher powered version, which you can see on the right here, for adults. And of course, I'm the only adult so far to have tried it. But these were the early beginnings of it. And there's a little video also. Maybe if I can share, let me see if I can do that. Um, yeah, okay. Hold on. I have to share this out, okay? Just bear with me. Yeah, here's a little clip of that in motion. Of course, I had the remote in my hand because I didn't, want to give the complexity of controlling the power as well with the kids. Can you guys see it?
Yes, yes. Nagendra, your mic is off. You can see it, Ryan. Just play it.
Yes. I'm sure it is not as fast on Zoom, but it was zip zap zoom there in reality. Ryan, we need your audio. We lost your audio.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you
Yeah.
hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't really very fast. I had limited the speed down to about 20 kilometers per hour just so that the kids, could have fun with it,
Okay.
essentially.
Fantastic.
So
So
after
what
this,
happened? What happened next? This is beautiful
yeah,
invention.
yeah. So then I got thinking and said, in fact, it was again the kids saying, if you can power this on a skateboard, why can't you give me wings and we can then fly with it? And I'm like, wait, there's already a sport like that. It's called paramotoring. And the more I researched that, I said, hey, this is something really cool. I want to try. So this was even before the days of me getting into paramotoring. And so I realized there already were these backpack motors, in the form of two-stroke engines. I said, this is an excellent sport. I should try it out. So over the next, towards the end of 2016, early 2017, I, joined up um, a paragliding class, a paragliding school. And from then on, after, about 6 months of paragliding, I went on and learned paramotoring. So by December 2017, essentially, I took my first flight, my cross-country flights. The only thing was, during the training and my initial experiences, it was all on a Maverick paramotor. It was an excellent paramotor, but the vibrations and the noise, was so much that it was a very different experience for me than I was used to with paragliding. Because with paragliding, you're a very serene, very quiet, relaxed experience, and I was almost completely losing that the moment I went to paramotoring. But I absolutely needed paramotoring because if anyone who lives near Toronto knows that there's no really good paragliding sites in the vicinity of Toronto. So if you want, to just venture out for 2 or 3 hours and get a nice flight and come back, you can't do that. You have to like drive 3 or 5 hours away. So I really needed paramotoring, but paramotoring was taking away from the serene experience that a nice quiet flight would have done. So after I learned paramotoring, I thought to myself, this is all well and good, but I think I should directly go and get a electric version. There sure should be an electric version. And so I started my search for trying to find vendors of electric paramotors somewhere at the end of 2017, and I really couldn't find anything out there. There were some people doing hobby stuff like the one I had done, but I wasn't really sure that it was giving them sufficient trust, and the timing was also just 20 minutes at the most, 15 minutes. I think one of the early ones out there was Open PPG, and was very promising. It had four propellers, but I believe with those four propellers, the sound again was so loud that I'm like, no, I really want something quieter and really good. So I'm like, if there's nothing out there, maybe I should just try to build my own, and that's how I got down in the journey. The first 1 year of it was just experimenting and building a do-it-yourself sort of a electric paramotor. So that's how I got started down this road.
Oh, fantastic. And can I request you to adjust the mic a little bit? I
Okay,
got a request in chat window that they can hear you a little more clearly.
is it better now?
But yeah, it's better to me.
Better, better.
Unless we get any other message, I will interrupt you. Pardon. Uh,
Sure,
so,
sure.
so
Please
also,
proceed.
also, second part of my question was that do you think there are other people who have made electric paramotors, and what do you know about that? Internationally, if more people have made electric paramotors.
Yeah, absolutely. So, uh, quite a lot of people have attempted making paramotors, and some have succeeded quite nicely. Um, there are a lot of people doing it, in a hobby capacity, and for themselves essentially. Not really looking to make it a product, so to speak. And so a lot of the people trying to get into this space have done it that way. And then more recently there's a lot of other manufacturers that have gotten into this space as well and are doing it on a larger scale. I already mentioned Open PPG, which seems to be one of the most popular do it yourself come pretty solid offering out there. There's Exomo, which is from France and is a pretty solid paramotor as well. It boasts even up to about 50 minutes of flight time. Skyjam is another one. Blackhawk has its own version of an electric paramotor, although I don't know, I'm not aware of how, if they have upgraded it from the original offering that they had. Revolt is another one. If you want more data on this, I have some information which I have compiled. It's probably about 6 months old, so it might be a little bit out of date. But
Sure.
in general, there are a few manufacturers out there. Most of them, are internationally located, and no one really is making it at scale, or for general use in India.
But in fact, it's nice that your name is added, and for us, you are one of the few inventors who have made electric paramotors. As far as I know, on behalf of the community, I really appreciate your efforts, and we are looking forward for a lot of interesting development. But personally, I have experience, and a lot of my fellow pilots would agree that flying is a very serious business if it comes to safety. And
Exactly. Yeah.
and it's one thing that you make a backpack powered skateboard because the risk is low. You fall, you might injure or get minor fracture or something. Yeah, but in flying, you have to be flying equipment has to be really, really done well, very well thought of. So my next question leads further into this discussion, where I want to know, or how do you think? Is it really a DIY, do it yourself, design it yourself kind of project, or uh, and from safety perspective and from understanding of there's so many things involved, you know. I mean, of course, it has taken a lot of time for two-stroke and four-strokes to evolve, though we have taken some things from there, which is in form of paramotor already there, and created propulsion unit. So what is it really a DIY garage project? Can anybody do it by themselves? And what do you think?
Yeah, this is a really interesting question. I have a little bit of a slide I made for that. It'll take you to the first prototype, so to speak, of a do-it-myself project I made for myself, which was operational between 2018 and 2019. So let me just quickly bring that up.
Sure. And you made it, and you had three engineering degrees in aviation and
Yes.
electrical and other
Yeah.
disciplines.
Yes, exactly. That's the point. I mean,
And for us commoners, will it be DIY? We would like to know that.
100%. 1 second. Yeah. So this is the prototype of the electric paramotor. That took me about 1 year to create from the skateboard version, to something that flies kind of reliably. And even up until this point, uh, the basic, let's say, power distribution and the power management and all of that was very much in line with what you expect from from making a drone or making an RC aircraft. You have batteries of the right amount of capacity. You have a speed controller, which takes the energy from the batteries and converts it into the right kinds of signals for the motor. And then you have an appropriately powered motor that can sort of give you the thrust. Okay. Now you've got to you've got to pay attention a lot more to safety, in flight, but also safety while building this, because when you're working with smaller RC powered motors and propellers and all, the risk of injury to yourself is much lower. And the moment you start going into something higher powered, like even a do it yourself paramotor, you have to be extremely careful and extremely cautious, because the risk of injury or even death is really very high. You would literally cut limbs off essentially with what you're working on. Yeah. So it is, if you are what you would say, careful or qualified, or you have the skills to understand high powered electricals, power
Yeah,
distribution, power management, how not to get electrical surges at different times, because when the paramotor is starting, there is a huge surge that starts up when it starts up. And then um, when you're first connecting the equipment, sometimes the sparks can be so so crazy that you could vaporize your plugs right there. So there's a whole bunch of knowledge that you need, sort of an engineering level knowledge. If you have that, and if you have the patience for it, and also if you have the money for it, because um, without the in-depth knowledge of how to calculate how to convert the energy of the batteries through the ESC to this high powered motor, you will end up uh, kind of going through a lot of trial and error, and not picking the right sort of motor or propeller or ASC, and then you'll end up spending way more than you would want to, or you would have hoped for when you started, because of the nature of this kind of thrust and the kind of lightness that one has to bring to an electric paramotor.
right.
So it is do it yourself if you have all those kind of skill sets and the patience, and you know s- you know some money that you wouldn't mind losing if you're trying to get into experimenting this way. So then in that case, it is do it yourself. But if you don't have that expertise, and you're just looking to have the benefits of electric flight, then you should sort of rely on the on the expertise of several other of the makers that are out there that have spent years trying to finesse this technology, and make it safe for operation for electric paramotors. There's a big difference between the sort of control you want to do when you're flying an RC plane, and then the kind of control you want to do when you're flying a paramotor. The control profile, the throttle profile, the throttle response, the kind of thrust, the way the thrust is managed, all of that is very special. The kind of air speeds that are involved is very different for paramotor. I'm going to even say that paramotors, at least for the basic use case, the paramotors would be a lot slower moving through the air than an RC aircraft.
Oh,
So
yes.
then you need to take into account the kind of airspeed as well that you want to play with. So my first do-it-yourself project, this one, I called it the flyby. It was pretty good, but all in all, for a just for me to operate myself, I was sort of content with it. It wasn't generating a lot of thrust. It probably had about 40 to 45 kilograms of thrust. Its flight time was about 40 minutes. Uh, and
Lot.
yeah, and it was still very noisy. There were no vibrations, but it was still very noisy because the RPM and the correct matching propeller was not really sorted out. So I ended up with something that I was decently happy with, and I was flying around with this, pretty happily. And in doing so, quite a lot of my friends kept asking me, "Hey, why don't you make something exactly like this for me?" And
Hmm.
I got many more requests about it. And so I thought to myself that I didn't feel like I could give this to the people that were asking me for it, because it still was very you know DIY in a way, because there were, like you can see here, there are about uh, 8 separate batteries, eight separate drone batteries, and all of them had to be connected in the correct
Those,
sequence.
those green things, right? The green
Hello.
things. The green things are the batteries.
Yes, that's correct. Yes,
Uh,
1 second. Huh? You can still see my screen, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, 1 second. Something happened on my screen here, and I thought I lost you guys. Yeah,
Mm.
so the little green packs over there, they are the batteries. Um, uh, I had to I had to make this thing more user friendly, because just you have to be very careful in the way of connecting these batteries together. You had to make sure your batteries were well balanced, charged to the right amount, also not discharged too much. There was no like battery protection there. There was no proper, reliable on-off switch for it, and a whole bunch of things. So I couldn't really give this to someone else to operate and for them to keep it. So I thought, because there are so many people asking about it, let me try to productize this and also improve on it. I mean, why am I making an electric paramotor after all? The whole goal was to bring back that serene experience, the quiet experience, the relaxed experience of paragliding. So for me, one of the top goals was I really had to solve the problem of sound. Okay, then maintenance should not be a problem, because if I'm switching to electric, then I should really benefit from everything that electric has to offer. So I shouldn't have to do too much maintenance. I don't have to worry about connecting things the wrong way, or making a mistake with the batteries. Everything had to be sort of taken care for the user. So
So,
yes, you
so
had a
how much,
question.
how much time did it take to build this first paramotor? So much of
Yeah.
R&D which you are describing here.
So
And
this do-it-yourself project essentially took about a year and a half to get it to fly. Before that, the thrust was even lower. It was like 25, 30 kilos of thrust, and that was not good enough. I couldn't fly. I could only fly in the most perfect winds. So after this was done, and I had to build the next step, because I wanted to sort of productize it. That took another year or 2 year and a half, because then I had to go beyond what basic RC and basic drones had to offer, and I had to sort of create my own custom hardware and software to manage, manage the power and manage the controls effectively, to actually get it to give it the experience that it now gives. You know.
so I will ask you my favorite question I ask on every platform. Can I
Yes.
can I do it by going on YouTube and take lessons and make it?
It's a yes and no answer. If you have the experience and expertise to play with high powered electrics, then yes, you can. Okay, but if you don't, then you should not, because you will just, you know you will not have fun doing it. It's a lot of electric energy, it's a lot of power, it's a lot that can go wrong. And the kind of power you're dealing with, it can go severely wrong. It's not just an RC aircraft. So you have to be very careful, and you have to know your limitations when you're trying to attempt this as as a do-it-yourself project.
Sure, understand. So, what I take away from here is that, oh yeah, I can try. I will spend 1 year or less, or a lot of money, and a lot of my friends who have three different friends I need, right? Electrical engineer, aviation and couple of more engineers to help me maybe for a non-engineer like me.
Yes,
Okay,
unfortunately, the
so
kit for this doesn't exist. The closest you can get to a do-it-yourself kit in Paramotors is probably the Open PPG, where they have solved
okay,
most of the things for you, and they're giving it to you as a do-it-yourself sort of project to do.
sure,
But just
perfect.
building your own paramotor, it's very close to building an aircraft. I mean, I won't say it's a full-fledged aircraft engine, because that takes a lot more power than this, but it is very close to it, and you're still already dealing with sufficiently high uh, you know power equations and problems that you can seriously enjoy yourself if you don't know what you're doing right.
Sure. So we want to learn more about what you built. We got to know how you built, but what you built, and we would like to know a little more about this machine. So, what are the key features of your electric paramotor? And I am talking about safety features first.
Sorry, Nagendra, I lost you there. You'd have to repeat that again.
Okay, again. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I
Yes.
can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So, we would like to know what are the key features of the electric paramotor you have built. And I'm talking about to start with safety features first.
Sure, yeah. So let me share this other slide I had ready for it. Okay. um, okay, yes. So 1 2 years, 1.5 year later, after I productized what I already had, I've created this electric paramotor that's now kind of safe to use and user friendly and ready to go out there in the market. And let's start with the safety features, because that's, I think, one of the first things on your mind.
Sure.
This uh, the safety in paramotoring in general, the first and most safety critical aspect, I believe, is the pilot. Okay, so if the pilot is safe in his flying, you know he's going to have a safe experience. Okay, now after that, after your training and all that you do, now you want safety involved in your hardware as well. uh, the obvious things that might and could go wrong with a paramotor, or in a sense this electric paramotor as well, is you could lose power wherever you're flying. Okay, so if you lose power, you lose thrust. You should be able to you know have an emergency landing spot and land. The paramotor should not do something unexpected. It should not uh, turn on and off in unexpected fashion. So one of the key things that I've built into this is, if there's anything unusual happening, either with the motor or with the power or the thrust or the supply from the battery or the ESC, if anything unusual is happening, the motor will gradually power down and allow you to gracefully land. Okay, so that's the basic theme of the safety that's here. So let's say this paramotor has a wireless throttle. Okay, sure, lots of people are concerned about wireless throttle, thinking it won't be reliable, but I have tested this now for more than a year, about 2 years, 2.5 years. The wireless link is pretty solid, but in case you were to lose it for whatever reason, the custom hardware and software detects the loss of the link and slowly powers you down. And if the link is restored, it allows you to control it back again. Similarly, for the battery, if the battery is losing its power, at around the halfway mark, you will get a beep telling you, you know, your battery is getting over. It is at halfway, and then at 3/4 of the way, you'll get another indication. And finally, when there's like 5 or 10 minutes left, you will get a more urgent indication. So saying that, okay, now we're really running low. So within the next 5-10 minutes, please find a landing and land. So these basic safety parameters, along with things like um, custom program, custom hardware and programs in there that don't allow very strong power surges to take place, because power surges can knock out your electronics and give you a premature failure while flight. So all of these things ensure that the the pilot gets a smooth and nothing too unexpected in their application of in their experience of flying a paramotor like this.
Sure, got it. Now,
Now,
you have brought, sorry to interrupt, but
yeah, yeah,
I am trying to link to the slide here. You
yeah.
have in a lot of specs here,
Ha,
and
yes.
the chat box, a lot of interest is already coming from various pilots here.
Okay.
So, after safety features, I would like you to take us through very obvious things which we would like to know as a pilot about the battery capacity,
Yeah, sure.
uh, about flight times. You have quite a lot of list here, which is what exactly we would like to know, and people are asking the question. So, can you take us through other specs as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the battery's total energy capacity is about 4.1 kilowatt hours. So that's as much, that's all of the energy that we have to play with. And uh, how we capture and how we um, release this energy gives us the efficiency and the experience and the performance of this paramotor. Uh, so far in testing, I have discovered that flying really conservatively, I can get up to 70 minutes. I mean, I think one of my tests, I even got 71 minutes of a total
That's
flight time. Uh, Flying conservatively, on average, between 60 to 65 minutes happens always. But sometimes when the winds are just right and the humidity is not very high and all those kind of things, couple of times I've hit 70, at least probably 3 or 4 times at this point. Um, the engine is capable. In this case, the engine is very simple. See, one of the design features was also to completely reduce complexity and reduce the number of moving parts. So the engine is a very custom designed motor with a very solid bearing, and that's the only moving part. Okay, so the bearing is very high quality. It should last you, like, I don't know, should last you years, if not a decade. uh, the engine's power is 20 kilowatts. In two-stroke terminology, that would be about 27 horsepower, and its top RPM is roughly at around 2900. Without propellers, it's about 3200, but with propellers, it works out to around 2900. The propeller was very carefully chosen for this application because low noise was one of the most important things I wanted. Because once the vibrations were eliminated, the next big, the next big feature that I wanted to really achieve out there was low noise. So the four-blade E-prop turned out to be the best candidate for this application. It really gives it a lot of thrust, and the noise is reduced so much that after about 100 to 200 feet of distance, sometimes you can't even really notice the paramotor. If it's a very, very quiet morning, maybe it'll take you to about 400 feet by the time it's completely silent. But if it's regular sounds around you, like at the beach or something, then within 200 feet, it's completely silent. In terms of dB, I've also measured it. I've measured some petrol parameters to give me at about 95 dB uh, at about say 15-20 meters of distance,
yeah.
whereas this thing measures at about 72 dB, 72 to 75 dB at about 15-20 meters of distance. It has a wireless throttle because if you're going electric, one of the big things about electric is you don't need a cord. I mean, a cord's always good, and people are very used to having a cord actually connected for a 100% reliable link. But electric gives you the opportunity to go wireless, so that you have one less thing that's interfering in your flight experience essentially. So the wireless link is pretty solid. I've really never lost it. It's the the wireless throttle and the receiver are so close to each other that it's you can't expect anything else to interfere in that link basically. um, the body is made of aluminum. There's a charger. It comes with a charger. In fact, this version, the Marathon, comes with a pair of two batteries, and each battery comes with its own charger, so you can sort of parallel charge both of the separate units, and together they will charge in about 3 hours to full capacity. Sometimes it's 2.5 hours, depending on how much you've depleted it. I have measured the thrust to about 72 kilos, but that's only because the platform on which I was testing it was not allowing me to test more. I suspect the actual thrust is a little bit more, but only when I measure it, I'll confirm it. I'm guessing it's at around 80 kilos, but that's just an educated guess at this point. I need to confirm it, and only then I'll advertise it.
Sure.
It's absolutely fantastic for backpack. It's a lot of power. You release the throttle and you're up, like you're shooting up almost like a rocket. It's you can climb like 100 feet, I would say, in about 5 or 6 seconds. It's really fast. It's probably as fast as the most powerful petrol engines out there. The propulsion unit by itself, because that's exactly what I'm selling at this point, the propulsion unit by itself is about 30, maybe 31 kilos. This has the batteries, controller, motor, propeller, everything put together. And then the rest of the weight depends on what sort of a frame that you choose for the unit. Okay, the batteries are special, pretty special actually, and very customized for this application. They are designed as quick swap battery packs. In a sense, if you are doing a lot of flying and you want to land quickly and change out the batteries to another charge set and put this for charging, the battery is quick swap, so you just lift it out and you snap it back in, and it should allow you to do a battery change in less than a minute essentially, and you can be off flying again. The batteries also have a lot of design and thought put into them about safety, because batteries are where um, the big power is residing. So if
Yeah.
the batteries are not uh, sort of taken care of all at all times, then it could be a dangerous situation. So at all times implies when the battery is just stationary and not operational, when the battery is in flight, and also when the battery is charging. So these batteries come with a built-in BMS that is Bluetooth connected. So if you want to see the state of your battery and you want to troubleshoot things, and something's not right, or you want to know how much total charge has gone in, what is the voltage of each of the cells in there, and etc. There's a Bluetooth app that connects to the BMS that lets you see the state of health of each of the individual cells inside the battery pack. And that BMS does not allow things like under discharge, overcharge, um, a short, or an exceedingly high surge. So all of these things are protected by the BMS that essentially keeps the battery in safe hands at all times.
Yeah.
Okay.
One more question. Does it
Yes.
have a temperature sensing in that batteries? If the temperature goes
Yes,
high, yes, it's very
absolutely. It has
important
temperature sensing as well. Yeah.
because
It'll,
these are lithium batteries, if I'm not wrong.
yes, they're lithium ion batteries. Correct.
Yeah. So there are different technologies, life, lithium titanate, and
Yeah.
standard lithium. Yeah.
These internally are made of some really high performance and very safe lithium ion polymer batteries. They are sort of like your LiPo batteries, but they are built in a little bit more robust way, and they were
Okay.
specially sort of put together especially for this application. The manufacturer who works with me to make these
Yeah.
has tested uh, bending and folding each of the cells,
Oh, great.
puncturing it, dropping bricks on it and rocks on it, and essentially just you can sort of you're just ripping apart part of the battery, and it essentially still doesn't catch fire. This is what he's told me.
Great. Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
So great. I would like to share take a minute here because I was the first test pilot for this commercial version.
That's correct.
And purely not knowing all these parameters, and we took off from the beach. I took off from the beach at Lalit, Goa, in nil wind conditions in the evening, and it was beautiful flight and really great experience. All that what is put here and couple of things, I mean, it's really when you hold the remote in your hand, it's not wired, so if you let go of it and you are in a thermal, it's so easy, there's no sound, and you really enjoy the whole flight. So thank you, Ryan, for letting me have a dear machine to try it out as the first pilot. And after this, I would like to know, 70 minutes is a decent time. And in your experience, how do you see that? Can we take this for cross countries? How reliable it is?
Now, it won't compare to a cross country with the fully loaded petrol engine, because that could probably give you 3 hours of a flight. But I have very recently done a small cross country, something that should should make most people happy, I would think. If you're doing a small mini cross country, I've got about 33.3 kilometers of distance on one charge. So let me just share that thing. I have a little PP GPS um, uh, log entry for that. This happened just literally a couple of weeks ago. Can you see my screen again, guys?
Yeah.
Yes, quite clear.
Yeah. So that was something on, I think it took, I think I covered about, I don't know, 15 beaches, I think, from the place where I took off to the end of the stretch and all the way back.
You are
33
lucky you live in a
kilometers.
great place to fly, yeah?
What's
One
that?
straight
Yeah.
stretch and keep flying. Goa is beautiful.
That is very true. Yeah, I'm very lucky to be here. 33 kilometers in about 55 minutes.
Pretty nice.
With upwind and downwind, both were there. My initial journey was downwind, and then on the return it was upwind. And I finished, and I still probably had about 5 minutes of flying time on it, but I didn't want to push it too much. So that was the longest I've gone so far.
So the current commercial version, we can, like this electric paramotor can be fitted on a trike and can we do solo and tandem flights?
Recently, thanks to Samson and Siddharth in Bombay, uh, they speculated that there was sufficient thrust to toss this onto a trike. And so we did that for a single seater trike. And we were amazed. It took off right away. I have a video, actually, it's on my YouTube channel. So last time I showed you the video, was it okay or was it too jerky?
It was not zip zap zoom on Zoom because of different connectivity people have. So it
Okay.
was more like a stop photo animation.
Okay. So I'll try another stop photo, but in the chat, I will post the YouTube link to that video. It was a pretty
Sure.
historic video, I would say, because it's the first time we tried an electric trike. So that's on the chat right now, but I will also share it here.
Sure.
You can see my YouTube screen, right?
Yes. I hope you cleared your history about other things. AI is dangerous.
Yeah. So I'll try to play it, see if you guys can see it. That's Siddharth on the trike.
Very clear.
This is the first time he was operating this thing, so it was just his very first flight. And we thought, okay, he had one round, he's going to come down, but he never came down. He stayed up for another 5-6 go rounds.
Excellent.
So Siddharth, maybe at some point you should share your experience as well about the flight that day.
Sure,
You can do
sure.
it now.
Definitely.
Siddharth, you can do it now if you are okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, I can share the experience. So I didn't do the Skywalker. I didn't take it on the backpack. I straight away took it on the trike, and I would say compared to a electric motor, two-stroke engine motors, what I'm flying regularly, it took off in the same distance. So the power is similar. So, and airtime also, as Ryan told, we were doing like I did 5 low runs, gave good photos and everything. So airtime is also good enough for a decent beginner pilot who wants to less noise, who is coming from a PG background, who wants Shanti flying without noise, without the what they call maintenance, low maintenance machine. So electric is the future. Over to you, Nagendra.
Super. Thank you so much. So I will ask two more questions, and after that we will take audience questions. One very important thing is, how do you see future of electric paramotors? There are a lot of people who have developed. I have been following, and you have done, from point of view of people will have to indulge, because as you mentioned, there are very few kits available. So people will either have to indulge themselves in building what they want closely, because just like the world of combustion engines, which have so many options to choose from depending on uh, what kind of power, thrust, weight, your weight, and glider, and XYZ. So many things are there, yeah, where you can choose a appropriate engine for yourself. Here, there are few propulsion units available, and also when you were explaining, a lot of things are very tough for personally me after flying for so many years to get into in terms of propulsion units technicalities. So, how do you see future of electric paramotors, and why would a pilot like me or other pilots on the group would choose an electric paramotor over any other option available to fly?
Very good question. And I think Siddharth, just a few minutes ago, put it very succinctly. If you are looking for Shanti flying and no maintenance flying, no headache flying, you probably are looking for electric. Okay. Uh, I think there's a lot of innovation and what do you call it, development and progress happening in this space currently as we speak. It sort of came into being about 2 or 3 years ago, and at this point there's a lot of activity happening in this space. I think what present offerings are there out there in the market is probably in a very good shape for most people to get into it. Previously it used to only be about 20 minutes of total flight time, but now there are like at least there could be 3 or 4 manufacturers that allow more than 40 minutes of flying. I don't know if anyone has gone past 1 hour yet, other than me, of course, but
Yeah.
more than 40 minutes, 50 minutes, I think quite a few are out there. Now you have to pick up electric paramotor that suits you. Some people can take a lot more weight, so they would want a more powerful and longer duration paramotor, whereas some people don't want a lot of weight, but they don't mind shorter flying times. They themselves could be light, in which case the lighter paramotors will give them more longer flight time. So there are manufacturers out there making lighter electric paramotors as well, with less duration. Most of the weight for electric paramotor comes from the batteries at present, because the batteries are the heaviest part of the engine. So you have to choose one for yourself, and I'm sure like at least with what I'm doing with the product line that I'm working on, I have three offerings. Okay, the one you've seen first is sort of the mid-range one. It's got a lot of power, a lot of range, but it's a little bit on the heavier side. A full paramotor could be anywhere between 36 kilos to 38 or even 40 kilos, depending on what sort of a frame and what sort of harness and all that you choose. But I'm working on a lighter version as well. I'm calling it the Sprint, and it should have an all-up weight of about 26 kilos. But it will sacrifice on total flight time. Thrust also may be a little bit less, but then for a lighter pilot, that might be just perfect. And then the third version that I want to work on is something even more powerful that can go on, say, bigger tracks. and take heavier folks for a tandem ride. So uh, in terms of the thrust that these can generate, I'm looking at trying to cover the entire range from, say, about 120, 130 kilos of thrust down to the current product, which is about 80 kilos of thrust, and down to the lighter one, which should give about 65 to 60, 65 kilos of thrust. So that sort of the spectrum that kind of covers everyone's use case.
So like, I'm inquisitive, what is the weight of the battery out of 30 kg?
Yeah, so this version, the Marathon, has two batteries forming one set. Each battery is 10 kilos. Okay, so 10 plus 10.
Oh, like that.
Yeah, the propulsion unit is 20 kilos of battery alone.
So,
And these are, sorry.
So simple maths. If I do few more squats, can I carry two set of batteries and fly for 1.5 hours together?
Sorry, so you're saying you want to take an extra pair of battery as well on you while you're flying?
Yeah. Is it possible to connect and
Is
fly
that
for
what you
longer
said?
time? Yeah, yeah.
I think I lost you, Nagendra, for a bit.
Yeah.
Yes, he said he wants to take 4 batteries. If he is doing more exercise and things like that, he wants to add 2 more to the one you have.
Yeah, another 10 kgs more, and will I get longer duration of flight?
We lost Ryan. I think.
Okay, so we'll wait for him. Send you contact, and just for our pilots who have joined in, we are going to ask the cost question for sure, and also what kind of cost and what it takes to build this, and then we have a queue on questions. And as I can see from first one to the last one, as far as I have got, is Bhushan, Mangesh, Vinay, Sunil, and Avinash, and it is in the chat. But yes, I won't mind that. Is Ryan contactable?
Yeah, I'm doing that.
But also one of the big agenda here is which is the agenda of lower carbon footprint and sustainability and less pollution, low maintenance, no maintenance rather, are very big advantages, because once you will see electric paramotor, there are nothing, just one moving part, and the rest of the things, unlike the engines we fly, we have to tune and we have to do a lot of work on before we fly, or after we fly, or in between flights. So
नागेंद्र भाई, इसमें एक और खास बात है, जैसे जैसे हम ऊपर जाएंगे तो उसमें पावर लॉस नहीं होगा, क्योंकि इसमें कोई गैस तो जल नहीं रही है, तो आई थिंक इसमें ज्यादा अच्छा काम करेगा ये, जैसे जैसे हम क्लाइंब करेंगे ऊपर को.
Very good point, and especially some people who are interested in wingovers or spirals, and many times the fuel gets sucked out of the carburetor while doing these maneuvers. And in case of electric paramotor, that won't be the case. You can get the power instantly, as and when and whichever stage in your maneuver you will get. So we are facing, guys, a little technical difficulty in contacting Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan should be back. He's trying to log in again. He's logged out now. He'll log in again.
Yeah. So till Ryan comes, I can take a few questions because I have flown this, not from making point of view, but if anybody wants to ask me, the mic is open for you. So in terms of flying experience as a pilot or anything you would like to ask me.
Nagendra, I would like to clarify something.
Yes.
The battery pack, there are 2 batteries needed at a time. So it's about 20 kgs at one time, the battery pack, not 10 kgs.
Okay. So 20 kgs at one go. Out of 30, 20 kg is weight of the battery.
That's right. And if you want to take additional, you have to take 2 more or maybe 1 more 10 kgs or 20 kgs more weight. But on a trike, it's possible, of course. On
Yes.
a trike, solo trike, you can have 4 batteries, not a problem. You will increase the duration, as you say, because when I basically checked it on the trike for the first time, I realized it is enough thrust. It could have taken a small passenger with me.
Sure. Perfect.
Naturally, as far as duration is concerned, 2 more batteries and yes, duration is there. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Samson, for filling in. I was wondering, now I clearly remember that when we put the battery packs, it was 9 plus 9, 18 kgs on the beach in Goa. And because really there's propeller and there's little bit of aluminum frame and this custom designed motor, which has hardly.
Yeah,
any weight.
Ryan, we can see you now.
Hi guys, sorry about that. Had a glitch on my end.
No problem.
Am I clear again?
I was
Yes.
clearing some technical specs on your behalf, which I'm not good at. So good you came in back. My question got answered because Samson told us. My question was to know if I carried extra batteries, 20 kg one pack and 20 kg more, and if I was brave enough or I was on trike to take that weight, will the flight time increase?
Yeah, absolutely it would, but it would be quite a feat for you to take 20 kilos more, right?
In Thailand World Championship, I met a guy. He flew for 12 hours straight. So you can imagine how much fuel he carried. And world record is something much more than that also. So great. Now I'll ask one last question, then we'll move to audience questions. Now, how much does a propulsion unit cost? And cycles or last 4 years roughly, but will completely depend on how you're charging and how you're upkeeping them. So we'd like to know some highlight on cost and cost of batteries and replacing them and as such.
Definitely, sure. So the propulsion unit is priced at about $9,600. Works out to around 7 lakhs in Indian rupees. We do have a special going on now for, I guess the first few orders, let's say, for about 6 lakhs. So that's a little short time offer going on. The batteries, if you want spare batteries, well, first of all, the batteries come with like a 4 years warranty, and they're meant to last for like 1,000 hours of flight. But should there be a problem, and let's say you want to purchase another set of batteries, buying a separate set of battery by itself is about $3,700. You'll get 2 batteries with that. But of course, if you want to purchase the extra set of batteries with your first purchase itself, then I'm sure a deal will be worked out, at the time of your checkout, and there'll be a further discount applied on that.
So when you say cost of batteries, all this includes the cost of charging unit as well?
Yes, correct. The charger comes with it.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you for that information.
Actually, my bad. If you want extra chargers, and you want to purchase the charger separately, then the charger is $150 each. Okay.
Great.
But the batteries do come with chargers as well.
Fantastic. And so now I'll move to our fellow pilots' questions. And there's a queue on the chat. You can keep adding your name. Anybody wants to ask a question, and you can ask your question yourself. So Bhushan is the first one. Can you go ahead, Bhushan, please?
Yeah, hi Ryan. Thank you for introducing us to your wonderful product, and I'm really glad we have something coming to Make in India terms now.
Absolutely.
And that is really electric paramotor is something I had been looking for the past few years, and had been following quite a few people around the globe,
right?
And even followed a few guys in China who had been doing with a different kind of brushless motors. And
yes.
Most of my questions have been answered, I just have 3 basic questions. One, whether it is a lithium polymer or a lithium ion battery.
I've been told by, it sort of looks like a lithium polymer, but I've been told by the manufacturer it's a lithium ion polymer. It's a sort of an improved version on lithium polymer.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
much more safer as well, and it gives a longer life, longer cycle time.
All right. My second question is, what is the battery voltage that we are playing with?
Uh, each battery is about 55 volts, I would so to speak.
55
So you're
volts
looking
when
at
charged.
100 volts total.
So you are
Okay,
connecting two battery packs in series, you mean to
that's
say,
correct.
not in parallel.
Yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
And my third question is, what is the motor kV? You told us about the RPM, which is about 2900 and 3200 without a propeller. What is
Yes.
the motor kV? I mean,
Uh,
RPM per volt.
the motor kV is not fixed right now, but it's in the range of 27 to about 35. Okay.
27 to 35. And is it a
So it
specifically developed motor, or have you purchased an off-the-shelf product and improvised upon it?
no, it's I worked with the manufacturer. It's a workshop, and to create something suited just for this application. It really is for this type of airspeed, this type of power, this type of thrust. So it's a very specialized motor. Uh,
So on
in short.
my next trip to Goa, you are on the top of the list, and so is your
Sure.
paramotor.
Excellent. So nice to hear from you.
Yeah.
I hope to see you too in person.
Pleasure
Try
is
it
all
out.
mine. Thank you for answering all my queries. Over to you, Nagendra.
Thank you, Sahil. And next person asking question is Mangesh. Mangesh, can you please ask your question?
Uh, yes. Can you hear me? Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Mangesh.
Hi, hi,
Nice to
hi.
see you. Nice to meet
Yeah,
you
yeah.
in
Nice
Zoom.
meeting you. Yeah. Actually, yeah, it's good. I test flew, a paramotor made by Dilip Somanwar. And anyway, I've got few questions. How do
Absolutely.
you arm your paramotor? I mean, is there a master switch or you put the connectors when you start?
Uh, the batteries slide into their sockets. Okay, so that's the first connection. And then
Okay.
there is a switch to power on the unit as well.
Okay, okay, two things. All right. And did you measure the maximum current at full throttle? What was the maximum current in amperes? And what is the ESC size that you're using?
Uh, I've played with
Yeah.
several, ESC sizes. I've played from 500 to about 600 and even down to about 200. And at present, I'm in between. I'm at around 300, 400 amps of power at this point.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay.
And when you tested this for 70 minutes, how much power did you fly? What was the percentage of power?
Okay. So
Mhm.
uh, electric is slightly different from petrol. Okay. In petrol, um, if you use more power, you will be burning petrol at a predictably, increased rate. But electric is different. The more power you use, the more throttle you sort of apply in an electric
Uh-huh.
flight, whether it's a paramotor or an aircraft or anything, or even a car. Uh, the more power you're trying to get to, the electricity consumption is not double. Sometimes it's 3 times, sometimes it's 4 times, sometimes it's 5 times
Okay,
as much.
okay.
Okay, so that's the difference in electric. So if you want to fly endurance with electric, you have to be very disciplined in how you use your throttle. So in my really long flights, just because I'm trying to break the record, this is not a flight I would do,
Uh-huh.
every day. But when I'm trying to break a record, whether it's distance or it is duration, I would probably take off, and when taking off, I probably go to go a maximum of about 60% throttle, 70% throttle. And when I'm flying, I try to keep the throttle as low as possible. So probably about 30 or 40%, just so that I can get that maximum time, maximum duration. Okay. But
Okay.
you have to also remember that I'm a very heavy pilot. I'm nine.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, is there some crosstalk coming somewhere? But anyway,
Uh,
I'll continue.
guys, whose background noise?
I think it is from Mangesh only because
Okay,
everyone is
Oh,
unmuted.
okay. My bad. My bad. Okay, okay. No problem.
no problem. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Sorry about that. So what was I saying? Yes. So trying to stay really conservative at about 30 or 40% of throttle was sufficient for me to continue my flight. Now you got to remember, I'm a 90 kilo pilot. Okay. So at 30, 40% throttle for a 90 kilo pilot, getting about 60 to 70 minutes of flight. If you're a 65 or a 70 kilo pilot, you probably would get, another 15, 20 minutes of flight more. Okay. So that's the kind of duration and longevity that this particular design kind of affords you.
Okay, good. And one last question that, see, if we have, suppose somebody wants to retrofit, I want to retrofit my paramotor, convert from petrol to the electric one. What would be the approximate cost here?
Are you asking for a do-it-yourself paramotor, or are you asking to do it with the parts that I have?
With the parts that you have.
If you're trying to retrofit it with the parts that I have, then you're looking at a motor of about $2,000. You're looking at it's not just the motor and the controller that's kind of key in this one. It's the three of them together. Because only when I kind of optimized and balanced the specs between battery, controller, motor, and prop, all four of them, only then I could get the numbers that I'm looking at. Each one of them, like if I take my batteries and put them in another paramotor, you're not going to get these numbers. If I take my motor and put it in another paramotor with different set of batteries, you're not going to get the numbers. Same thing with the ESC. If you pick a different type of ESC for it, you probably won't get what you're looking for. So if you're putting all these things together, you're essentially looking for a propulsion set without, without the what do you call it? Without the body, I suppose, right? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Propulsion set without a body. So you are looking at, very close to the full cost. So that's probably about, I don't know, 5.5 to 6 lakhs, I would think, for the entry amount, and then without the current discount that's going on, it's about 6.5 to 7 lakhs.
Okay, great. Thank you. That was my question. But I would like to definitely test this paramotor with competition kind of wing, like Navig Doberman 2 or something like that, which
excellent.
Is
yes.
Meter. And does it give that burst of power which is required when you make the sharp turn around the pylon? So need to really practically feel it sometimes.
Absolutely. I would like that kind of data point too, because I don't fly like that yet.
Okay.
So I would really look forward to that.
So
thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Mangesh. Thank you.
Thanks,
and
Mangesh.
really, we can use the cage and the harness and other things are actually what makes the propulsion unit itself, which we discussed for the clarity. And I would like to invite Vinay for his question, please.
Hello, Ryan.
Hi, Vinay. Great to see you on here.
My simple question is, have you tested the ceiling of this machine, how high you can go?
I have only gone to about 2,000 feet maximum so far. But not because the machine can't go, but because, I'm sort of restricted out here in Goa. And I don't want to, go. I generally fly only at 300, 400 feet. Okay, so occasionally when I have an opportunity to do it and I have the clearance to do it, only then I've gone, and the maximum I've gone to is about 2,000. And I didn't want to go above. I believe it can go a lot more, but I have not tested it at altitudes of 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. I've not tested it there.
Please.
One more small question.
Yeah.
And is there any radio interference with the electric charge when you are flying this motor?
That one I can answer definitively. There is no electric interference at all. I do fly with my radio, and it is really all clear.
Okay, thank you.
You need a high quality speed controller, so that it generates that energy and the signals in the right fashion without creating radio noise.
Okay, thank you.
Siddharth, we can't.
Thank you for your question.
And we will be lucky someday to fly high altitudes in you with this machine, and it'll be great to watch. Yeah, it'll be great to watch out for data points, and Ryan would be looking forward for how batteries behave in lower temperatures and many things, because flying.
That's what the concern is. When we are flying in hills, we are actually flying at 7,000, 8,000 feet, and most of the time the temperature is in minus. So the
Absolutely.
battery can really go down in
Yeah.
those conditions. That
Vinay,
is,
I am looking forward. I am looking forward to come out there to your lovely hills because I
yeah,
am very curious about this data point.
yeah. So thank you.
Theoretically,
Well,
this unit should generate enough heat to warm itself in for that flight. But again, air pressure, temperature, all of this, I would myself be very curious to want to know
even in
what the
petrol engine, because when we are flying, I am flying petrol engine, the fuel consumption goes 4.5 liter per hour to 5.5 liter per hour. 1 liter per hour fuel consumption is increased because of the
yes,
thin air and everything else. So,
absolutely.
so that actually needs to be tested. Maybe the good idea is to actually test.
100%. I really look forward to actually coming out there and testing it. I am myself very curious about the data point.
You're most
Okay.
welcome. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Vinay.
Vinay.
Thank you. Sunil, can we invite your question, please?
Yeah, thank you, Nagendra. Ryan, can you hear me?
Hi, Sunil. I can. Great to see you on here.
Yeah,
Thank you for joining us.
thank you. I haven't switched on my video just to save my speed of the net. It's a bit lower, yeah. And I'll come to my question. And Ryan, have you optimized or have you finalized the number of blades, length of the blades, and pitch of the blades so far?
In the current configuration, it's 125 centimeters
Okay,
of blade length, and the 4 blade is what seems the best right now. But this is
okay,
an ongoing, space, and I suspect even the 3 blade, will do really well on this system. But I have not tested it.
okay. In terms of thrust and the noise levels, right?
Exactly, because once you have a motor that's gone silent, the only other big noise out there in the room is your propellers. So
Yeah.
I really had to um, take that down like by a lot for it to to really stand out, and that's what's on the offering right now.
Yeah, from the conversion perspective, from the gasoline motor to the electric motor, the noise level really plays a bigger part. Since we always have a conflict between the resort owners and the tourists from the beach. Since we are sharing the same beach and the sea, always
100%.
we end up with some
Yes,
conflict. Yeah,
this was actually my one of my biggest design goals for the same reason, Sunil. I fly on the beach
yeah,
as well, and I did not want to harass the
exactly.
natives.
True, true. That's a big point. And one more thing, Ryan, in terms of when we do tandem flights, I'm talking about a
Yes,
foot launch tandem. Okay.
yes,
Now, our one of the biggest hindrance regarding electric motor, as you have pointed out earlier, is the weight. If it's
yes,
around 36 to 40 kg in
yes,
terms of battery and the frames, everything, that's quite really heavy. Okay. So
yes.
what I'm suggesting is, when we do foot launch tandems, why can't the tandem passenger can carry one or two motor and connect it to the control unit, and why can't we extend the endurance? Is
That
it
is
possible?
that is a brilliant idea, and I'm pretty sure that is possible. I won't promise you that, but it's a very
Yeah,
promising idea, and I can definitely look into that. Thank you for the
yeah,
suggestion.
that's what
In
big.
fact, I think I should
Yeah,
work with you to try to get that, you know, to reality.
definitely, definitely. I love to come and help you out, because since
Absolutely.
when adding up the number of the batteries in the same frame, and having the pilot having all of the weight is not a good idea. So we can share the weight with the passenger. It'll be fantastic, right?
Absolutely. Very, very good point.
Yeah,
I'm glad you made it.
yeah. Thank you. And one small more thing, what kind of harness at the moment you are using? Is it a what do you call active hang point system?
Uh, it's a midpoint system. It's a low hang
Like
point.
a gooseneck?
It's not a
Okay.
gooseneck.
Is it a
It is
gooseneck?
actually APCO split leg with a low point,
Okay.
low hang point.
That is the I think lightest harness available in the market at the moment.
Yes,
The split like
yes,
that.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. And okay, thank you all for the technical answers, Ryan. And I have the same session. I have two small question, one to Nagendra and one to Siddharth, since they are the test pilots of your machine.
Sure,
absolutely.
sure.
Okay, Nagendra sir, you were flying the machine, the beach in Goa first time. So with that 38 to 40 kg on your back, and I don't know what's your body weight, and I know you are a freaking flyer in the paramotors. Exactly, what was your feeling with that kind of weight on the takeoff and landing, and what was the wind speed you were flying up there?
Sure. Sure. So it's very interesting. I learned on machines which were 45 kgs, very old machines with uh, mild steel frames. So
Okay.
weight is not a problem for me. My weight is swings between 75 to 82 kgs. Depends. If I go for competitions, I reduce it. And if I'm
Okay.
having good time, then it is 82 kgs. Yeah. So
Okay.
I never felt any difference in terms of, because what I fly is Polyme 130, which is a light engine.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Yes.
also I use a aluminum frame, which is the lightest. And that weight with 5 liters of fuel for an hour of flight would come to around 28 kgs. And when I
Yes.
picked up the electric paramotor for 35 kgs, it never goes to 40 kgs. It's
Okay.
around 35 kgs. That 7 kg difference was not really immanageable for me, because as we every day fly backpack, so it just looks like, okay, little bit more, but it does not break your back, or it makes you crippled or non-worthy of takeoff. Now, coming to second question, the wind speed was nil wind,
Okay.
and so I had to run a lot because of nil wind, not because
Okay.
of the thrust.
Okay.
Because thrust is comparable. So I know in nil wind condition it might take X amount of runway, and we were
Okay.
lucky it was low tide, and we ran into the
Oh,
sea,
okay.
and we took off.
Okay. Yeah, fantastic.
But
And what was the rating in the size of the wing, sir? In
uh,
square meter?
I think I flew a DHV 12.
Okay. And the
Yeah.
size in square meter?
No, I flew my wing, Ryan, right? I flew my wing. Yeah, my wing is Dudek Universal. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
flew
flew
my
Okay.
your
wing.
wing.
Because we
Yes.
tried with Ryan's wing and then I flew mine. Because I said
Okay.
I want to take one task at a time. I'm very comfortable with my own wing. So I want to fly my own wing and your propulsion unit. So I flew a
Fantastic.
Dudek Universal,
What
which
is
I
the size of the wing, sir? Is it 24,
20,
23,
20,
26?
it's 24 square meter.
Okay.
And yeah, and
Fair.
it's pretty fast, but it's a good wing. It's a very stable wing.
Yeah.
Did I
Thank you,
answer
sir.
all your
Thank you. And yeah, that's perfect, Nagendra, sir. Now, Siddharth, one question for you
Yes,
is,
yes. Go ahead.
you were flying a tandem or a solo wing on the trike?
I was flying a large wing, that is 120 to 160. That was
Okay.
the
Okay.
APCO thrust, a basic wing in
Should be
nil wing.
okay, nil wing. Should be around 30, 32 square meter wing, must be.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Perfect. And can I go back to Ryan for a very small question, which is, I think,
Yeah,
which is very
please,
important.
please go ahead.
Certainly.
Ryan, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. And my question is, you were telling me that the throttle is non-wired and it is Wi-Fi system or whatever, wireless system, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So that should be operating on a battery as well. So is there
Absolutely.
any option, or is there already existing a dual throttle? Because all your paramotor will be working perfect, all the wiring, battery, everything is there. But just in case if there is the battery have a problem on your hand
Yeah.
throttle,
Yeah.
so everything can be jeopardized. So to eliminate that kind of problem, do you have an option for a second throttle on the frame?
That's something we're looking at upcoming, but it's not there right now.
Okay.
But you know, the throttle itself has a battery indicator. Okay.
Okay.
So you really won't run out of battery on that. Like
Okay.
in all the flying I've done so far,
Hmm.
And each time I'm doing a flight of about 50 minutes, 1 hour, 50 minutes, 1 hour, most of the time. I think I
Okay.
get in about 20 flights
Oh,
before I need to recharge the throttle.
okay.
And I've
Okay.
never, I've, it's been 2.5 years. I have not had a dead throttle yet,
Okay.
because the throttle just tells me it's time to charge. And with that, once that indicator comes on, I still can fly for about an hour, before I have to charge again. Of course, I never
Mhm.
let that happen. That only happened once. I flew and I came down. Oh, this thing is beeping, so I charged it. And then I've never had that situation happen to me for like 2.5 years. But you're right; it's a good option to have. The only thing is when you make something like that, where there is a dual option, you want to make sure that it is a very solid link. The reason I chose wireless for this implementation is because all of the um, all of the mechanics, electronics, and conversions that need to happen for your throttle, your hand operation, to get converted to electric signals, all
Yeah.
of that whole chain of link, hardware, software, wireless link, everything is very solid and has been tested, like industrially tested, essentially. So I knew I was getting onto something that was rock solid. But if I had to fabricate my own link, a special purpose custom link for this, it would have to go through a lot more testing, because that is one of the most critical things of the paramotor. You want to make sure that the throttle linkage to the controller unit is really rock solid. Okay, so that's
Yes.
why this has come on as a second feature to the
Okay. Okay.
system.
Yeah. And
Naturally,
one more.
most
Yeah.
reliably,
Tell me.
it's wireless, and the next
Okay.
level, if people really do want it, would be the wired version. Go ahead.
Perfect, perfect. And I'm sure, Ryan, you must be flying a petrol engine motor before you're entering the electric motor. So there is always a lag before pulling the power. When you apply the throttle, maybe half second, 1 second lag before
Yes,
getting the full power. So do you
yes.
have the same lag, or you have a better thing on this thing?
I have actually, I've actually uh, reintroduced that lag for a couple of reasons
Okay.
in my electric motor. One is so that the feel was more natural, because when you don't do that, the kick is so sudden that it's a little bit unexpected for the pilot. You know,
Okay.
Whether you're a pilot or you're driving a car or you're flying a plane or
Yeah.
whatever, you always want things to go gradually, okay, and not very slow. You don't want it to take 2 seconds
Correct.
to go to full power, but you want
Okay.
about of 1/4 of a second to 1/2 of a second for you to go from zero to full. Okay, so
Yeah.
that you can manage this power, and process it mentally and react to it.
Yeah.
So that was
Very
one
true.
reason why I lowered the power. The second reason why I actually did that was because if I didn't do that, the electrical surge that was going through the circuitry and through the whole mechanics was very high, and it
Okay.
required
Yeah.
you to kind of do all sorts of juggleries with the control system and everything, so that you end up providing that experience of too much of a kick, which not too many people really enjoy, and at the same time you're
Yeah.
putting too much stress on the entire system. So to sort of
Very true.
solve both problems in one stroke, I sort of reintroduced about a quarter of a second, half a second worth of uh, gentleness to the throttle response, to manage things in a better fashion for this product.
Perfect, perfect, and thank you very much for all the answers, kind. And very
Very
sorry
welcome.
for shooting too much questions. Okay, this time.
No, I enjoyed them. They were very good questions. Thank you.
Thank
Sunil,
you,
thank
Ryan.
you.
Thank you, Nagendra.
Sunil, thank you so much, because each and every question was very interesting. So you should not say sorry. We are here for that. And
Thank you, sir.
thank you. And next question we are going to take from Avinash, please.
Yes, hope. Hi, Ran. Hi, Nagendra. I'm very happy to interact with you. Um, Thanks for giving the opportunity to ask a question. Okay. The first question would be, I have a couple of questions, or rather three. The first question would be, what is the ampere rating of each batteries? And the second question would be, is it a brushless motor? Is it a single phase or a three-phase motor, which is there in the device? And the third, drive mechanism, is it a VFD, variable frequency drive? Yeah, these are my 3 questions.
Hi, Avinash. Good to see you here.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're asking such really cool and very in-depth questions. I will try my best to it, to get to them. But you will have to help me because I think
Sure.
you asked about 4 or 5 of them. So I'll go piece by piece.
Sure.
Okay. So the amp hour rating of the battery is 40. It's 40 amp hours.
Okay, great. Yeah.
What was your next question after that?
Um, uh,
Brushless motor.
is it a brushless single phase
Yes.
motor or a 3-phase motor?
It's a 3-phase brushless motor.
Oh, great, great,
Yeah,
great.
but mind you, that's only for this product. All of these specs change when I go to the different other sizes.
Yeah,
The
because
lighter size,
right,
lighter
right,
thrust, and the heavier size, heavier thrust. The specs would all change for that. This
right.
particular one has 3-phase brushless.
So essentially, when you say it's a 3-phase motor, that means it's using alternating current inside, and it might be less than 400 amps, because when you
Yes.
say alternate, yeah. So that will give you a better what you say durability actually.
Yes.
And yeah, your motor at a peak is giving you 400 amps, right? It's taking in 400 amps. How much actually it is taking?
I have measured
Hmm.
between 180 to about 230 amps
Oh,
worth
great, man.
in
Yeah,
there at the highest
highest peak level.
at peak
Okay.
levels. Yeah.
So I'll compare your figure with the Tesla motor, what they have. I'm just
Okay.
for yeah.
Yes.
The Tesla motor at a peak performance would Tesla 3 actually, version 3. So it will be taking in 1400 amps, and you'll have to have a thicker wire for that. And obviously they have 2 motors. One is for torque and one is for endurance. So yeah, they completely guard the secrets. They use neodymium magnets actually, and they energize alternate coils. Obviously they have a computer to do that, just like how we use in a Makita drills. One motor would be pushing, the other 2 would be pulling in. So effectively with a small motor they will be having a larger torque. So that's the secret behind the brushless motor. You know how you do the computer mechanics of it. Actually it's a computer juggling actually than electrical thing.
Absolutely. But it's also electrical because you are doing juggling with high amounts of power.
Yes, very yes. Yeah, you are absolutely right. Yeah, and having such a huge power, even 100 amps in a backpack, is actually like carrying a bomb.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is
Yes.
why I say, there's a certain point after which you should not venture into do it yourself and you should really,
Yeah, yeah, I know. That's true.
be really serious with what you're doing. It can kill you,
Yes,
essentially.
absolutely. Yes. Yeah, you pretty much answered all my questions.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Ryan.
Avinash.
Yeah.
Thank
Nice
you,
to have you
Avinash,
on board.
for adding that last bit of safety in DIY, because we all are, always talking and concerned about pilot safety first.
Yeah, right.
And
Yes.
VFD. Sorry, I missed the question about VFD.
Yes.
Is it having a variable frequency drive inside to control the brushless motor, 3-phase brushless motor? Because generally VFDs are used with 3-phase motors, not 2-phase, single phase rather.
See, I think it depends on how you define it.
Yeah.
If there is a well-established technical definition of VFD, would you share that with me so I could give you a more
Yeah,
accurate
variable
answer?
frequency drive. You use frequency to control the motors actually.
Absolutely,
Then, yeah, yeah.
100%. Yes.
That's the
So
basics of it.
if that is the case, then yes, because depending on the speed at which the motor is turning, you have to vary the kind of signals that you're producing out
Exactly.
there. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
And you have
Yes.
to be very intelligent about how you push power into the motor at different speeds and at different resistance, because sometimes you're going with the wind, sometimes you're going against the wind, sometimes you're on the ground, sometimes you're in the air.
Yeah.
So the speed controller has to be very intelligent about how it puts out those signals at what speed and at what advance to each of
Yes.
the coils and each of the magnets, so that
Exactly.
you get a really smooth transition in power and nothing unexpected should happen to the pilot. It should not,
Exactly.
it should be a very smooth experience. So
Like,
that's essentially what's going on under
yeah.
the hoods.
Yeah. Exactly. That is the secret with all the brushless motors for drills or grinders or for the cars, and nobody
Yeah.
shares their technology with anyone, because
Yeah.
that is they put it in resin and they block it out, and that's
Absolutely.
the science behind it actually, what you said.
and really they are only doing so because of their competitive edge, right? They've invested a
Right,
lot into
right. In
the
R&Ds.
R&D of
Yes,
it,
yes, yes,
and
yes.
it's what's giving them that cutting edge, that giving them that extra bit of performance. So that's why they're guarding it.
Yes, yes, yes. I agree that point. You pretty much answered to the bank. You just nailed it actually.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm so glad. I'm really glad, very happy you asked these really pointed and specialized questions.
Yeah,
Nice talking
because
to you.
I play with motors. That's the reason I asked this question actually. So
Yeah.
electronics and motors are my core actually.
Awesome. Actually, one more thing I'd like to say, because it you touched on intellectual property and R&D and stuff. So something very cool happened very recently. Just a few days ago, I was my patent lawyer told me that the patent that I applied for this particular technology of electric paramotors
Yeah.
just got granted. So I'm very happy that
Wonderful.
we now have a patented um, technology in our midst, and something that we can really enjoy. It's pretty unique and has
Yeah.
its own little space in the world of intellectual property.
Yeah, man. Congratulations for that. It's not an easy task. I can
Thank you,
understand
Avinash.
that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Avinash.
Yeah.
And really, you should experience this motor.
Sure, sure. I'll
Play,
if
play
I
with
ca- if yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll try.
it.
I'm a beginner pilot. Some of my gurus are also there on the call, like Vivek and Avin Malik.
Awesome, awesome. So I will keeping time in consideration. Now I'm going to take two last questions. So Sajid, can you ask your question, please?
Ryan, first of all, congratulations. I think what you've created is just super amazing. And I hope this becomes our future mode of transport someday. Uh,
Sajid, so nice to have you on board here, and it's really the enthusiasm and the support I have, from the community, like folks like you and everyone who has joined here today. Really, it gives me all the more, encouragement and energy, I say, to go forth and kind of really improve on this and give back to the community.
that's amazing, man. So my question is tied into the previous two questions. Is your, and maybe you're thinking about this, is your electronic controller unit, is that programmable? Like, say, I want more power or I want more flying time. Is that something as you got the machine, can you configure it yourself?
Absolutely, it's a little bit of a sort of expert user at that point, because now you're starting to play with the control electronics of the unit.
Mhm.
Only if you know what you're doing would I say go ahead and then customize it. But sure enough, yes, you have the option of making it put out more horsepower if you want,
Mm.
or making it docile and giving you as much endurance as you want. But now those are customizations that you would have to take on as an expert user once you have happy and played with the basic unit
Or
by
maybe
itself.
you add a programmable unit on the top and we just select the mode and we don't have to think about it.
That is definitely possible in the in upcoming versions. In the one that I have right now, the facility exists, but it is for you to take it on as an expert user. But in the future, if people just want to switch between endurance mode and high powered mode or anything else, sports mode, or let's say ludicrous mode,
Yeah.
then
Has the word about your invention spread across internationally, and what are other brands or companies saying? Has anyone tested that?
no one internationally has tested this motor yet. I the first uh, the first flight of this version was only about, I don't know, about 5 or 6 months ago, and
Okay.
then since then we've had the lockdown and stuff. So Siddharth and Samson and Nagendra, they are one of the very first people to have actually tried it themselves.
Yeah.
So no, it has not yet had opportunity to be tried by someone internationally, but be my guest. You're welcome. Goa is an international holiday destination. You guys are all welcome to come and try it out. They've got lovely beaches. Anyway, in the months of December to about April is very suitable time for flying
Cool.
out here.
I'm done. Thanks. Thanks. Appreciate your time.
Thank you,
Fantastic.
Sajid.
I
Really,
I would like to add here, Samson.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I spoke to Mika, the owner of ITV Gliders, and he is heavy into paramotoring. And he, in fact, contacted me once when he saw the video and what I shared. And he was very much interested. He is in NSC, France, and he would be very much interested to test your motor.
Wow, Samson, thank you for sort of linking me to this opportunity. I really look forward to it. If he's interested, I'd be most thrilled.
Yeah, he's a acro pilot, and definitely I've told him that you are most welcome to come to Goa to check the motor. But yeah, maybe one day it may happen.
Love it. Thank you so much, Samson.
Fantastic. Thank you, Samson. And I'll take the last question. It is not from me, but from Ashish Malviya, who wanted me to take it. His question is regarding Wi-Fi controller. Does military jammer affect them?
I have not tested it with my friends in the military yet. But I have flown in very noisy environments with a lot of noisy RF going on. I would myself like to know, but my educated guess at this point and my theorizing of this is it should not be a problem, because usually when people are using these kind of EM jammers, RF jammers, it's because the receiving unit is really, really far from the original transmitting unit. So a third party could produce a jamming signal in between and overpower the original transmitter. Okay, because both the original transmitter and the very powerful jammer are sort of equidistant, or sort of almost equidistant from the receiver, they can achieve it. But because my wireless transmitter is so close, it's like less than a meter. Like when you're holding the wireless throttle, the receiver is about 60 centimeters from the transmitter. Okay, at that kind of distance, I think this transmitter will overpower any other jammer that's trying to jam it. I don't think a jammer can produce that much energy unless it's probably a very, very high powered jammer, but it would take everything else out in the neighborhood as well, if it were to do that. So that's your answer, I think.
Great. So thank you very much, Ryan. You have charged us a lot, so I'll take one more question. I really ask everyone to be in touch with Ryan to ask future questions.
Nagendra, Vijay Soni has one question.
Yes, I understand. I'm going to ask Vijay Soni's question. Thank you, Siddharth. And Vijay Soni, can you ask your question yourself, please? Vijay, are you there? Vijay Soni?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Hi, Vijay. Nice to see you on here.
Yeah, nice to see you. Lots of new innovations and things. I've been flying for many years, and since I used to fly paramotor in 97, 98,
okay,
99.
Yeah.
And listening to all the stories, all my old memories come up. Like I was the first person to try the first Indian paramotor without the cage and many things. Yeah, my person who made the paramotor, he didn't have time to put on the cage. It was on the manufacturing. He was to deliver. He wanted to check the hang points. So I was a pilot to take off that motor without the cage. So many stories. I just want to know this thing. Can we switch off and switch on also this in flight?
Absolutely. I didn't state this as one of the advantages, but it's clearly one of the advantages of going electric. You can essentially climb up to wherever you want, a ridge or a thermal, and switch off. And you don't even have to switch the switch off. You just don't provide any input on the throttle, and the paramotor would go into a very low power configuration where you could just sit there for hours if you want, and instantly come back. When you have zero throttle on, the paramotor is really not uh, consuming any energy at all. It's like on a very low powered state, so you're conserving a lot more. You don't have to keep it on idle, essentially.
That what I'm trying to see. We can go thermal up and go further. That's how we can go for longer
100%.
time.
Yeah. All of the cross country and the time duration thing that I've recorded so far is minus any thermaling or any ridge effect. It's just in good wind. It's about 7-8 knots wind, but it's not flying off of a ridge or going into a thermal. So if you do that, you can definitely go into multi-hour flights. Absolutely.
And 33 kilometer you flew was into the wind or downwind?
Both. So if you see that the thing that I shared earlier, the screenshot, I when I took off, I was going into the wind. I mean, along with the wind. The wind was in my back, and so I reached the midway point very fast. And then when I turned around and came back, I was going against the wind. Ideally, you don't want to do that in the cross country, but that was what I was presented with that day. So I returned against the wind. I released my trims to penetrate and get uh, quickly to my starting location, and that provided me with 33.3 kilometers of cross country with no ridge, with no thermals, and against the wind.
I'm watching this paramotor since beginning when it started in India, and it is still very not popular like other paragliding. But after this thing coming up, I think it is going to reach to the next level in India. Thanks for
Let's
your
hope so.
information and our answers. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you so much. Nice to talk to you and hear these. That's a very important question and a very important point you made. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you so much. And Ryan, with this, I would like to bring today's session at end. We are so high powered. You powered your propulsion unit. You powered all of us.
Oh, my pleasure.
So,
I see Badri
thanks so
saying he
much.
has a question.
Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, I have
Unless
a
it,
question. Yeah. Yes. Ryan, I'm waiting for the last man to ask the question. The reason is it's some interesting proposition I want to make here. Sorry, I'm not able to switch on the video.
no problem.
For paragliding, not the paramotoring, I will start
Yes.
with. For paragliding, one problem is the takeoff at a particular minimum height. So before you
Yes.
lose that height, you have to find the thermal, right?
Yes.
And also to go to this height, that you need to have a hill which is facing to the wind and a
Yes.
particular height and a road or a way to go up.
Yes.
So my question here is there a way to make a smaller motor where it takes me to that takeoff height? From there, I'll start doing my thermaling.
Absolutely.
Where
Yes, that is.
there is no need for me to fly with the motor for 50 minutes or 100 minutes. All I need is maybe 15 minutes. So that,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a lot of electric paramotors out there that already have this sort of capability, okay, where they're only going to give you about 15-20 minutes of flight time.
Yeah.
Okay, and they are quite light. So one thing that immediately comes to my mind is open ppg. It is depending on how many batteries you put in it, uh, that's the kind of flight time you can get. So you can definitely do it with that. Now I too am working on a lighter version, which essentially is actually ready. It just requires someone to place an order, and and will ship out the first unit, which is probably going to be an all-up weight of about say 25-26 kilos, and
Okay.
should have a flight time of about 20 to 25, 30 minutes. So that's definitely in the works, and that is precisely for the kind of flying assistance that you have spoken about, because a
Yeah.
lot of pilots have asked me just about that, and it's absolutely a very, very good use case for a very light paramotor.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That is going to be like, if you someday, if you have that, that's the maximum demand. Trust me that, everybody, at least half of the PC community want to have them.
So that's good, because you can actually place that order right now, and I'd make that unit for you. The reason why it would be good is because I've put special effort into making sure that your noise and vibrations are low, so that it doesn't feel like you're putting on a paramotor.
Yeah.
Although you get the power in flight, you're still going to get a very quiet experience, and the weight's also going to be a lot lighter. So definitely, if anyone's really interested in that, I would work with them and give them that first version. It's called the Skywalker. sprint. It's the smaller version, and the marathon is what I currently have, and the bigger one that will come up next would probably be called either the Dragon or the or the Titan or something like that, because it's bigger horsepower, bigger thrust, definitely heavier weight. But that's the plan. Yes. Thank you for the question, Badri, and thank you for this opportunity and for giving me this platform to reach out to the community and share this this lovely invention that I hope is going to thrill everyone.
Thank you for coming and sharing, and I'm so happy that it is generally we import everything, so now it is made in India, so we can export from here.
Absolutely, absolutely, 100%.
Thank you.
Awesome. So great. Thank you, Badri, and thank you, Ryan. With this, we'll bring an end to today's session. But with today's exchange of information and seeing your beautiful propulsion unit, I'm sure a lot of people will watch it on YouTube, and you'll be busy in the coming weeks answering people's queries. And I wish you all the luck, and see you in the skies very soon.
Thank you, Nagendra. Look forward to flying with you again soon. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you for hosting it.
And I want to thank Badri and Siddharth for pushing us and putting this platform Flying Stories together. And it's really exciting, getting better day by day, and a lot of information is coming through. I wish you all stay home, stay safe. Only get out when you get chance to fly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Good luck,
everyone.
Ryan. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Vijay.
Happy landings.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you. Wish you the same.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Avinash.